So Catherine of Aragon was born on December 16th, 1485 to Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Cleves. Now during this time, Spain was not fully together like it is today. There were multiple different parts of it, particularly Aragon and Cleves, and they were all ruled by different rulers at the time, but Aragon and Cleves, they were very powerful parts of it, and also she was the youngest of 5, and so she wasn't next in line, so she was considered to be an excellent choice of bride for any upcoming king or ruler in Europe. At the age of 3, she was engaged to Arthur of England, who was the son of Henry VII of the Tudor dynasty. Now Henry VII, he was the one who established the Tudor dynasty through a war. And so during that time, the Tudor dynasty, it was not a strong dynasty, and so they wanted to strengthen it through alliances and marriages. In 1501, at the age of 16, Catherine was sent to England to marry the then 15-year-old Arthur. And sadly, about 4 months after their marriage, they both contracted sweating disease. And even though Catherine did survive, Arthur sadly passed away in the early months of 1502. Now over the course of the next 7 years, they're debating on what to do with the young princess. They didn't know whether they should send her back to Spain to her parents or to have her marry Henry, who was the next in line for the throne and would someday become Henry VIII. In 1509, Henry VII did pass away, and Henry VIII did become the next king. Henry VIII did decide to marry Catherine of Aragon, which they did have a beautiful wedding, and 2 weeks later they had a very lavish coronation to celebrate the newlywed couple, who were also the new rulers of the Tudor dynasty and of England. But yeah, and Catherine of Aragon was an amazing queen. She really did a lot during her reign in England, her 24-year-long reign. And one of my personal favorite stories of her reign was in 1514, when, while she was very much so heavily pregnant, and Henry was off fighting a war with France, while Scotland came down and started attacking the northern half of England, she had rallied the troops, and they ended up winning. And they killed the king at the time of Scotland, James IV. And after this, she sent Henry a letter with the news of their victory and also the bloody coat of James IV showing his death. Not only that, but she gave Henry all the credit for her having won this battle. Yeah. But now on to some sadder parts of her life. So Catherine of Aragon, between the time of 1512 to 1518, she had given birth about a total of 6 times, but only 1 out of those 6 ended up surviving, which ended up becoming Mary the First, or Bloody Mary of England. Yeah, and it took a toll on her body, and it just took a major toll on hers and Henry's relationship. It was around the end of this time period too that Henry started taking on mistresses, with the most famously well-known ones being the Boleyn sisters, but we're going to focus on Anne Boleyn, because she's the major factor of the annulment between Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Yeah, so in around 1526, Anne Boleyn came back to British court, and she caught the eye of Henry VIII, and it was around a year later of Henry trying to get her to be his mistress that he started to look for a way out of his marriage with Catherine permanently. Yeah. So in 1527, Henry VIII started to really get the ball rolling with trying to get his marriage annulled with Catherine of Aragon, to specifically marry Anne Boleyn, who he thought would be able to give him a male heir, which is what he very much so specifically wanted, and he thought that Catherine of Aragon would not be able to give him that. But specifically, he based this idea of his off of a verse in Leviticus stating that if a man were to marry his brother's wife, that they would then be childless. But Catherine of Aragon, she did claim that her and Arthur, Henry VIII's brother, had never consummated their marriage, so that would therefore would not come into play, the verse. Yeah. Over the course of the next 6 years, they had multiple different court meetings of him trying to get their marriage annulled and she trying to get it denied, which eventually it did get denied by Charles V, who was her nephew, obviously did side with her. And then, due to that, Henry VIII split from the Roman Catholic Church and became the head of the Church of England, so he could marry Anne Boleyn. In 1531 was when they had split up. But yeah, they were just living in different housing quarters, but it wasn't really until May 23rd, 1533, when their marriage was officially annulled. Over the course of the next 3 years, Catherine did not leave her house a lot, and sadly, she wasn't allowed to see her daughter, Mary the First, because Henry wouldn't allow it, which was really sad for both of them, because they had a very close mother and daughter relationship. And sadly, on January 7th, 1536, at the age of 50, Catherine of Aragon died from what was believed to be a cancer of the heart. Yeah. Catherine of Aragon was a wonderful queen, and she did a lot for England during her time. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed my videos on Catherine of Aragon. Stay tuned for Anne Boleyn.